Hey everyone, this is Ren. I'm going to be showing a semi-quick tutorial on some risograph techniques I've been doing for my photograph assignment. It was asked by my professor, and I really thought it could help the whole class and anyone who's watching about this tutorial. I'll be going over some techniques and quick tips on what I do for this assignment. All right, and let's get going. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to grab the original photos. They're already been adjusted with the curves and brightness and contrast to my liking. So I have them in this folder. I'm going to go to the channels, and you can see it's RGB mode, and I'm going to select them individually. So yeah, we're going to command click the box of the red layer, and you see it's going to select all the grays and blacks. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm just going to simply fill it with the bucket tool. Make sure it's black and white. Press Command Shift I, it'll invert the selection, and that's when I will click black, and now it filled it. Use Command D to deselect, and now I'm just gonna rename it. The R channel, R for red. I'm gonna go back, make sure that the original is fully seen. Gonna collect the green, same technique. Command click again, new layer. Command Shift I, and then fill it. Yep, and then one more time. Gonna select the blue, new layer, and I'm just gonna simply rename it because that's how I like to organize it. I'm just gonna quickly save this. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is that I'm just gonna group this, call it pre-bitmap, because I'm going to bitmap these one by one. Anyways, we're just going to select the R channel layer. Going to go to layer, duplicate layer. I'm gonna just put new, just to make sure it's separated, doesn't affect my original file. I'm just gonna put a white layer just so I can see how it's going to be affected. What I used originally was a round screen tone. So I'm going to do the same thing, round screen tone. And to do that, we got to go to image, mode, grayscale. Yeah, I'm going to click merge. Discard, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Going to go back to image, mode, bitmap. Yes, flatten layers. Yeah, 400. That's my DPI. Yep, and I'm going to click half tone screen. Okay. 53 lines. I'm pretty sure that's what I used. I'm pretty sure I used 45 round. And yeah, now you can see it converted it. That looks good enough to me. I think that's the right bitmap I used. Okay. So then I'm going to grab this rectangular select tool, going to select the whole thing, copy, and like Command C. Make sure everything's invisible. I don't want to get confused. New layer. And then just press Command V. Just paste it on. And then we're just going to rename it to round halftone just so I know which technique it is. And I want this to be the first layer. I want this to be on top, especially since it's from the red channel, which is usually the top channel. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, or almost exact same thing, to the B channel, though you're going to see later in this video that I do change it to the G channel instead. Yep, same thing. It's really full, so let's just change it. This time for my half screen tone, I'm pretty sure I did 85 degrees and it was line. Okay. Okay, and as you can, let's just check the original. Yeah, just about that line. Let's see if we got it. Yep, looks pretty good to me. Obviously, if you want, just mess around with the halftones or mess around with the angles. 100% what you prefer. Okay, same thing. Just gonna put away everything else. New layer. I want this underneath the first layer. Just gonna rename it line halftone. Second layer. Just gonna put away this folder into the other one, lock it because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to be confused. I'm gonna select both of these and just put the mode to multiply. And what I'm gonna do is make a new layer, get my colors ready. I used blue and orange, fluorescent orange. I'm pretty sure that's the name. And I'm just going to fill it and put clipping mask and set that mode to screen for my top layer. Same thing, new layer, color, clipping, and screen. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Though, like I said, I realized that this is kind of darker than what I liked. To each their own preference, but I liked it a little bit softer, as you can see right now. This is like really nice and soft. This one's kind of like vibrant. And my preference is that I kind of just like it a little bit more softer. Maybe it gives that little nostalgia look. But I don't want to completely throw it away. You know, just in case maybe I want to use it later. So I'm just going to do the same bitmap technique with the green channel layer. Yeah, layer, image, mode, grayscale, the whole thing. Image, mode, bitmap, yes, and because it remembers the last time, I could just press OK. It's the same thing. Yep, select it all, copy it. And new layer, I'm gonna unclip this. And then paste it. Same thing, just gonna clip it. Make sure it's multiply. Yeah, okay, that looks more accurate to what I was going for. Obviously, to each their own preference. I like the softer, less contrasting look of it. Just gonna say this is the second layer. And then rename the other one to third layer. I don't know. I don't want to completely dispose of it, just in case. Just gonna shove that in here. Lock it. Alright, so then what's next is that I'm going to show these mask and lighting and darkening techniques I was using for each of these photographs. So I'm gonna put a mask on each of these. And I'm going to select a brush. I'm going to use a hard brush. So you can see when I'm using the color black with a brush, I am masking away this blue. I'm on the blue layer and I'm hiding away the blue. This is what I'm going to do first. This one's the easiest one. I'm going to make this monochromatic look where I hide away all of the background in the blue layer. I'm just going to fasten it up. I was pretty rough with this. I didn't care that it was going to be soft. I'm kind of rushing it right now. But obviously, take your time if you wanted to have more of a precise look. I'm just going to quicken it up. Okay, so now that we got our background generally masked up, I'm going to command click on the mask layer. I'm going to go to the other mask layer of the orange layer, and then I'm going to, with the black brush, just cover it up. I'm just going to cover up the orange, then I'll make everything blue. And then Command D to deselect. And that's pretty much it. Super easy, super simple. Okay, then next we're going to do the picture on the left. This one is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to make a new layer on top, make sure it's clipped. I'm going to name it shading because that's what we're going to do. Make sure it's multiply. Multiply will make your darks darker. I'm going to kind of go for like a lighter mid kind of gray to make it slightly darker. I want the teddy bear to stick out. So my goal is to slightly darken it in the orange layer so that it is more vibrant in the orange layer. Yeah, the darker the pixels, the more orange will pop out. And again, I'm just beating it up. It's pretty rough, but yeah. And sometimes what I like to do is that if it's not clean cut, like if there's a little bit of leaking, I just select the original photo and then I just Command Shift I and I delete it and then it'll be clean. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Yep. And there's other things you could do with it. You could do the opposite. If you want to lighten your pixels, you can just put it to screen, rename it highlight, in my opinion. So if you were to make it brighter on the orange layer, it'll show less orange and be more blue. Same thing. You could really experiment with this. Multiply is to make your darks darker. Screen is to make your pixels brighter or whiter. And once I'm done, I'm satisfied. I'm just going to merge it. Command E. I'm going to go back to the mask of the orange layer. I'm going to select like a darker gray. I want my background to be slightly more blue, so I'm hiding away. Oh, rip. Okay, so if that happens to you, if for some reason you have a glitch like that, what I learned is just you got to kind of turn off everything else for a little bit. Yeah, so I want to hide away the orange layer background for this picture so that in consequence it is going to be a little bit more blue. It's kind of the same thing as the first photo. I'm going to select a soft brush because I want the edges to be a little bit softer. Speed it up. Obviously, I'm kind of doing it sloppy. But take your time if you want to. I'm just going to rush it for now. And yeah. Yep, that's pretty simple to get that effect, to have a slightly more blue. That's one way you can manipulate the colors. And yeah, that's pretty done. All right, so what I'm going to do next is this third and final one. It is a little bit more complicated though once you learn it, it's pretty easy. So we're just going to zoom in. Select the Polygonal Lasso tool. It's right here. Okay, so what it does is that if you click, it will start a selection path. And it might take some time if you're new to this, but I'm pretty used to it, so I'm going pretty fast. So I'm just going to select my object, kind of go around the body. I want to include the objects like the chair. Just gonna go around. I'm clicking once, like a pretty steady pace of one click. Because if you double click it, it's going to close it. It's going to close the path on its own, and that might not be what you want. All right, and you see it's selected. I'm gonna make sure that this is with 2 squares. These 2 squares means you can do multiple paths. Yep, gonna do the same thing. Just gonna go fast. Okay, then there's gonna be scenarios where you're gonna want like to deselect some of these things. So click this 3rd button and then make your path on what you don't want to be included. I don't want to include this space between my leg and the scooter. And I'm just going to keep going on. Just going to select my sister. This is a photograph of me and my siblings. Going to select the dog, the scooter again. Same thing, same thing. Yep, and you can really take your time to build up the selection. Okay, and then once you're done with selecting your subjects, you are going to want to Command-Shift-I, because we're going to be selecting the background. We're going to be wanting to use the background. However, since we have other things in the mask, I am going to go to the rectangular select tool. I'm going to click this 4th button, which will be the common area. I'm going to generally select only this photograph. And once that's done, it's going to only affect this area background, not my other 2 photographs. This is really helpful because I'm going to be using the gradient tool. I'm going to go back to black and white. I'm going to make sure I'm selecting black. I'm going to use this linear gradient. I'm going to go make sure basics, it has a transparent background, so it's only the black, it's not the white. And I'm just gonna click and drag. And oh yeah, obviously if it glitches like this, just turn off everything else. Okay, so we're gonna, again, you see, I'm gonna have the orange layer a little bit more invisible. Gonna click and drag again, because I really wanna make sure it kind of bleeds softly. I really stretch it out because I really want it to be like a really soft gradient. Okay, then we're gonna select the other one, the other mask, and just like the opposite way, we're just going to hide away the blue on the bottom. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going for. So then, as you can see, it worked. Command D to deselect. That's pretty much the soft look I was going for, but you see there's also this issue. I thought it was a little bit too harsh on the edges. In the original, I kind of softened the edges really quickly. This is really a quick technique. So I'm just going to, again, on my mask layer, we're going to select the background, the whole thing. We're going to go to filter. We're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. And as you see in a moment, it's harsh. It's saying the pixels are harsh. So I'm just going to put up the pixels. You can see it gives you a little bit of a preview on like the leg, how much softer it's going to kind of look. I'm going to say, okay. Going to go to the other layer, make sure we're still selected, and then click filter, and on the top result, it's going to say Gaussian blur. It'll have the same setting, so I'll just click that. And yeah, deselect. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much generally how I did my assignment. Looks pretty much the same. And yeah, pretty much that's it. And I hope this tutorial was helpful to anyone. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.